Back to Hogwarts Day is coming fast, and all of the witches and wizards are heading to Diagon Alley to get their supplies.
You hear that? We must be getting close.
And if you want to impress Dumbledore, don't forget to bring your yarn and a new knitting pattern this fall.
I do love knitting patterns.
So for today's video, we're so excited to share a new series on our channel called Nerdy Knits, where we design and create a knitting pattern inspired by some of your favorite TV shows and movies. We'll take you through our process from inspiration to finished project. And if you want to create your own version, we will have the link to purchase the pattern in the description. But before you click away, if you are a Patreon member, every Nerdy Knits pattern that we create will be included in the yarn card tier for free as an extra thank you to our wonderful supporters. So grab yourself a mug of butterbeer and let's get started. Our very first project is inspired by none other than Arthur Weasley. In the second Harry Potter film, The Chamber of Secrets, Mr. Weasley is with his wife Molly, dropping their kids off at King's Cross Station. There, he is seen wearing a knitted plaid sweater vest underneath his jacket. And this is the knitted garment that we wanted to create in today's video. His wife Molly Weasley is an avid knitter, or enjoys using knitting charms to create knitwear for her family.
Oh, Mum made it. Looks like you got one too.
For the yarn, we tried to put ourselves into her shoes, thinking, what yarn would she choose? Something widely available, hardy, and durable, but also something budget-friendly as they don't have a ton of money living in the boroughs.
It's not much, but it's home.
Also, I feel like Mr. Weasley would really appreciate a go-to Muggle brand and yarn rather than a wizard yarn. Actually, I'm not super literate in magical sheeps. Maybe I'll have to ask Hagrid about that. So I couldn't think of a better choice than Cascade Yarns 220. It's a Peruvian Highland wool, super hardy, widely available, and fairly economical. It's not the softest, but just soft enough that even a Hufflepuff like me with sensitive skin could enjoy working with it. Now for the colors. She went with a warm camel or beige colored background with a dark maroon or burgundy accent, which reminded me of the Gryffindor house colors just a little bit, but in a grown-up sort of way. And we were in luck that Cascade Yarns 220 had both colors, camel and burgundy. So I just wanted to take another second to just admire the color of this yarn. I think it's the perfect color match to the movie. It's a camel, and then to match with it, we have burgundy, which is just your normal red, dark red, purple wine color. I think these two yarns together are so pretty. I am so excited. I just couldn't believe my eyes when these yarns come in, because you never know how a yarn is going to look, you know, when you shop online. But I am just so happy. For the pattern, I think it's a very common Muggle print in the United Kingdom, a plaid. So my very first task was in Google Sheets or Excel in creating a plaid print. This sort of helps me visualize before making a swatch and finalizing the colorwork chart. Now, one of the most important steps in my opinion is, of course, a swatch. And how you knit your swatch in the round versus flat depends on how you knit your garment. I plan on knitting my vest both flat and in the round, so I just knit my swatch flat. This will give me my gauge if I want more or less drape, and overall to see how the pattern looks in the yarn versus my spreadsheet. I wanted to do a pretty good size swatch to really help me visualize how it's going to look overall, as I don't want the print to be too large or too small. Alright, so it's been a few days since I've wound the yarn and I actually made this first swatch here. So this is of course what I started with to figure out my gauge. So I started with a 5mm needle, and then I wanted to try a 5.5 just to see the drape, because I really like drape on my garments. And I ended up liking the 5.5. And so this little label just shows that it's 5 millimeters up here, 5.5 down here, and 5.5 is what I ended up going with. And so after that, I was able to go to my big reel swatch. I spent most of my afternoon knitting and frogging and redesigning and working on the swatch. But before starting the project, it took me what feels like forever to figure out how I wanted to do these vertical lines, because I didn't want to carry the yarn across the back over the entire vest, because that would take up so much yarn and I just didn't think it was worth it. And then the vest would be pretty thick because this is a worsted weight yarn, and that would be 2 layers of yarn. So I did a little bit of research and I came across a couple of blog posts that talked about doing vertical garter stitch ridges. And that's what I ended up doing. And so I did garter stitch where I want my vertical lines to be. And then I'm going to go in with a crochet hook and slip stitch and pretty much duplicate stitch in these ridges with the maroon. So I'm really excited to be doing that. But I did a lot of re-swatching yesterday. This is just part of the designing process. So I had to restart my swatches quite a few times because I just wanted to make sure that the spacing in between the ridges were right. And I didn't want the design overall to be too big. So I was happy with this. I actually took some inspiration from a plaid shirt in my closet to see, okay, how many inches in between the squares on that design, and maybe see if I could utilize that. And so I'm really happy with how this turned out. I usually don't make swatches this big. This is about four times as big as I make my swatches, but I just love, I loved being able to see the design so big, and just see all of the repeats that I wanted to. And then just look how clean the back looks. Like, disregard all of these over here because those would be woven in. But just look how clean the back is. I just think it looks so nice. It almost doesn't look, I mean, it's not color work because it's just horizontal rows. But I'm so pleased with how this turned out. I think it looks so good in my opinion. And yeah, so now we get to grab our crochet hook and see how these vertical ridge plaid lines are going to turn out. So I did a couple rows of the crochet vertical lines and I'm really happy with how it's going. I didn't want to show you the first 2 lines because I was still trying to figure it out, and I'm not going to do like a full explanation on it. There are some great blogs that do an amazing job explaining how to do this, but they call it a surface slip stitch. So every purl bump is when you do a slip stitch, and on the back it just looks super clean too. But I'm so excited about how this is coming together. I think it looks great, and it's better than what I had in mind. I'm just so excited to see the entire project come together. All right, so this is where we are with our vest so far. So the other day I was able to do this back panel, the back yoke, and then I finished this up yesterday with some increases for the underarm. We have our vertical ridges here for our crochet lines later. And then last night I was able to do the right and left front shoulders, including the increases for the V-neck. So it maybe looks a little bit crazy right now. Here's our shoulder seam right here where we picked up stitches. And we have the back and the front, and then we have a line going down the center back, and it will mirror on the center front. So let's kind of see what it looks like when it's folded up correctly. So maybe this is a little bit easier to visualize. Here is our front V-neck and then our back yoke. We are almost ready here on the front to start doing our increases for our underarms, and then we're going to join in the round. So this is, I did these two yesterday and finished the back yoke, and then most of this back yoke I did the day before. So this is about 2 days worth of progress on this vest. I didn't work on it all day. It amazes me how fast 5.5mm needles on a worsted weight yarn knits up. So I've really been having a lot of fun. Because it is knitted flat, we have a lot of ends that we'll need to weave in just on the top portion, because you start and end these single rows here. Once I knit in the round, I'll have just a line of this, the different colored yarns going up the back, so I won't be cutting my yarn, I'll just be continuing it, or wherever we start the beginning of the round. So I'm super excited that we're going to get to join in the round today, and then I'll do a try on to make sure everything fits the way that I want it to, but we're just going to keep on trucking along with this little Weasley vest. All right, good morning. It is the next day. It is Tuesday. Today's the start of day 4. I just wanted to show you some progress that we made yesterday, Monday, on day 3 of working on our Weasley vest. So we combined the 2 front shoulders here. We did our increases for the underarms, and we joined in the round. These increases kind of look a little bit like a mess. And we've been knitting on the body. Yesterday I did just finish my first skein of yarn on the main color, so that's what this little marker is here. But we are just plugging along in the round. I did a quick try on this morning. Everything is looking how I want it to, which is great. I love that there are no floats in the back. It is just so nice and clean. Then of course these are vertical ridges. But yeah, so this is what we managed to do on day 3. Let's see what kind of progress we can make today on day 4. Okay, so here's our next progress report. I didn't do any the past couple of days that I've been knitting because it's just been knitting in the round, and I honestly don't know what day I left off. Today is Friday, and last night I was able to finish the ribbing and bound off. So here is the work I did yesterday, and here to here is the work I did whichever day it was before, maybe Wednesday. So I just wanted to show you an overview before I started putting on the ribbing. Here's our increases for our underarms on both sides. We have our V-neck. The V-neck looks, maybe looks a little bit low, but that's because we don't have our ribbing in, and that'll bring up the neckline even more. I did leave a little bit of length. I made it a little bit shorter than maybe it's supposed to be, so to say, but that's just to allow it to grow a little bit when it blocks. Oh, I just can't get over this color combination, just this maroon and this camel. Oh, I'm just so happy with it. We will do the vertical lines last because I really think that's going to show a transformation in this vest, but I thought it'd be easier to show you kind of the construction of it all with it hanging up on a hanger. So next, yes, we have the armbands and the neckband, and then we're going to do a good block, and then we will do a surface slip stitch for all of these vertical lines. You see the bumps on the other side. But it just doesn't it just look so nice? Yes, there's a lot of ends to weave in at the top, but this is where our beginning of the round is. And if you look on the inside here, I just carried that maroon yarn up along the side, so I didn't even cut it. And I'm just so surprised with how little this yarn or this project has used yarn wise so far. I way over ordered yarn, which I think is a great thing. I'd rather have too much than too little. So I'm excited to see how much yarn we end up using. A couple of days ago I did mention that we broke into that second skein. Yep, that knot is somewhere on the back. We broke into that second skein of this main color, but we are still going strong with this maroon, and I'm only going to use that maroon again for these vertical lines. So we're not even going to use a 100-gram skein of yarn for this size anyway. So I'm super pleased with just how it's looking and just how it fits. Yeah, I've never done a V-neck design before, but also knitting a V-neck, so it was fun to learn and also just get to, you know, figure out the numbers after a couple of hours of frying my brain trying to figure it out. But that's just part of the designing process, and I greatly enjoy it at the end. I really like that I was able to get another 2 rows repeat in before I started this bottom ribbing. I did some increases on the row before I started the ribbing so I could use the smaller needle size for ribbing and it not taper in at the end, because I wanted it to just fit kind of nice and loose. If you didn't want your vest to be loose, if you wanted it to come in a little bit, then you could absolutely omit those increase stitches. But yeah, so here's our overview. It's Friday, almost a week since we started this project, and yep, I can't wait to show you the next update with the ribbing. All right, well, it has been quite a minute since I have gotten to work on this and picked it up and gotten to knit on it. So I thought, you know, better do an update, see where we're at. So I wanted to share with you what I was able to work on the last day or so. So these armhole bands and the neckline are what I completed last. I was able to do this little centered mitered decrease. Let's see if I can focus here. I was able to do the centered mitered decrease so that the underarms don't have too much extra fabric. So it just is all nice and clean. And then we have a V-neck here. I've never done a V-neck. I've never done a center decrease like this. I tried it on and I loved it. The first time I did the armbands and the neck hole, it wasn't as accurate to the picture as I was hoping. So I initially made them a little bit wider, which you could make yours wider if you would like. But for a little bit more accuracy, I took in a couple of rows and made it a little bit thinner, and I love how it looked. And so now we are at a point where it's time to put in all of these vertical lines, which I'm so excited about. The ends are not woven in yet. I like to do that after blocking. But this is the last update I wanted to give you before the final result, because I think it's going to be a huge difference between this and blocking and then the final result. So just wanted to give a quick overview, and these were the final little details that I wanted to complete before doing our vertical rows. I'm so happy with how this is turning out. The bottom band I did 1.5 inches or 2 inches. Yeah, I think the inside looks so nice and clean. I did a fit check, of course, after doing the armbands and the neck hole, and I love how it fits. So I'm just super pleased with where we are, and like I said, the next time you will see this will be the final result. I'm so excited. So, how did we do? Do you think the Weasleys would approve? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. We hope you enjoyed today's video. Please give it a like and subscribe to our channel if you did, and we'll see you next time.